Good. I open up my.
Welcome, everybody, to the February 18th, 2026 Select Board meeting. We will begin with the approval of the minutes.
Elise had sent me an omission in the attendance, which I'll take care of.
That was the only thing I
I
said.
didn't see anything, so
All right, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve.
We're just approving the minutes.
And there's an error in,
Okay. What?
I don't know if it's a motion I make or just.
Well, just
talk about it.
say it first.
Okay. Speaking specifically about my comments last week or 2
Okay.
weeks ago. In what was posted online, it says Chris Minette inquired as to how long the town planned to pursue the legal case against him. That was not the question I asked.
Ask about how much money.
I asked how much money.
Yeah, I think we should.
And I think that's a very
Yeah. we're happy to
specific
change it.
difference.
You're right, you're right.
Thank
You
you.
make that change, Steve.
I am.
So just to be clear, Chris Minette inquired as to how much money the town planned to spend pursuing the legal case against him, right?
That sounds much different
Okay,
than,
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay,
All right, I will make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Second that.
all in favor, aye?
Right.
Any other public comment? Rick?
I spoke to Steve.
Um,
You're going to be talking about the SB two. I did have something to say, but I don't know if you could put it up on.
If your comments are about the SB two, we'll do it at that point. Do you have any comments not related to the SB two hearing?
Well, it's mostly related to SB two.
Okay, well, in that appropriate time will be that happen to
That has her.
Okay.
I think Bev was gonna say, yeah.
I just have a quick thing, just for anybody in the room. And I know Stephanie is there as well, that we are, still looking for people who would like to be interviewed for Our Town on New Hampshire PBS. They're going to be filming, people's memories and stories. And it can be people that are new to town or people who've been around for a while, but they want to know what makes Plainfield special. And the interviews are going to take place in April. We're just confirming the places right now. But we'd love to have anybody be part of that. And it's on the Our Hometown series. And if you go on New Hampshire PBS online, you can see some of the other towns that are featured. We're the first town in the western part of the state to be featured. So it should be fun. And we're looking forward to some of the stories. They're very excited to come.
Now, is that an on-camera interview?
Pardon? Say
Is
that
that
again.
an on-camera interview or is it
Yes, it
just? an
is.
interview?
It
Okay.
is. And it's only a 30-minute program, and they've told us to round up 30 people at least that are interested in being interviewed. So some of us will either end up on the cutting room floor, or they're going to feature some of the ones that weren't on camera. They're going to show those on their website, so you can listen to that. So this is a great opportunity to highlight Plainfield and for the Historical Society to get some additional memories about growing up in Plainfield and what makes Plainfield special. So this is really a great thing that's happened. And we actually have Lorraine Mayette to thank for this. She is on their volunteer board. And when they were looking for a place in Western New Hampshire, she said, how about my hometown? And so that's how they ended up with us. But it's been a busy time working with rentals right now. We're filling up pretty fast. So
Excellent.
Great.
Thanks, Ben. Any other public comments? And move to department reports. Anybody want to kick off?
Then we'll jump at once now.
Let's begin with Brad and work our way around clockwise and
Sure.
facilities.
We electricians installed a feed for the heat pump at Highway. And then Mill Hollow Plumbing and Heating is gonna do the install of the heat pumps. They're supposed to get in touch with me about an install date, but it's taking forever, but we'll get there.
And these are the units that came out of the
These are the
Maryland.
recycled units from the Old Maryland Library that we put in storage, and we're gonna use 2 or 3 indoor units and the main outdoor unit at the highway garage to create heating and cooling in Richie's office and the mezzanine break room. DOT infrastructure grants moving forward. The other, it's a 2-part thing. One is the riverbank stabilization. That's just had a kickoff meeting where Steve and I met the engineers, and when the snow leaves, they'll come up and do a site look, but that's,
It could be news to you guys, not that the riverbank has collapsed, it hasn't. There has been for a number of years, another area to the south of the area that we did the lane shift. You gotta go down almost to the Weirs, but where Sumner's Falls is, there's a section of the road that pitches uphill. And on the right, there's a place there that probably would require more fill than we have. And so we would move the road, but this grant that Brad has found, one of the pieces of it from the RPC is that they would send engineers to look to see what we could do now to slow down the inevitable. And also, if the town were proactive, it would be a chance to work out a right-of-way arrangement with the Weiras, that sort of thing. It's not failed yet, but it's the next one on the list.
so that piece is moving forward. And the next step will be for them to make a site visit, and I'm just supposed to let them know when the snow's gone.
Tomorrow.
Oh,
Day after Christmas.
The, working with our GIS, the other part of that grant is working with Mark Goodwin. And that's moving along, sort of a couple steps backward and then a couple steps forward, but we've gathered all of our data that we are aware of, and it's sitting in the drive at the moment. We'll eventually find the right place that ties into our IT work that we're doing on another thing. I just talked to Stephanie yesterday. The original driver for this, one of the original drivers was conversation about an app or a way for us to keep a list and check on a list of people who have special needs in the community in the event of an emergency. And how do you avoid multiple stops? Get the word out that this person's checked and they're fine, or this person needs something, and get that bounced back to other folks who are involved in that process. And so part of that needed a definitive road layer. Turns out Steve was already working on that with the planning board, and so Mark had already looked at the 2 data sets that we have and came up with some discrepancies. That's, turns out that when I talked to Steve, that's how I knew they were working on it. They've now, I believe, resolved them all, and we hopefully will have a layer that we can then build on for this app. So knowing the roads, knowing the building locations. We have a little issue also going on with 911 addressing, and in the sense of solving one issue about clarity of addresses, will then solve a PD issue with their reporting system and some other stuff. So eventually we'll have a conversation with Mark and Stephanie and other stakeholders about that little applet that we're trying to do. Basically take data we've already got, a process we already do, use the data we've got to do a more thorough job, more efficient job of doing that little task. So that's moving along. The Water Department Asset Management Grant project's going. I'm geocoding the horizontal assets. We've got all the vertical stuff, hydrants, valves, and other things. Now it's the water mains and service lines that connect them. I'll wrap that up pretty quick as a first pass. And then you get into the actual working with the tabular data to build it out so that it's the actual asset management program that we got as part of this grant. And we'll just filling in the data, and eventually it will ripple into what's the value of our data, what's the condition of our data? Are we funding properly? What's, can we adjust our rates to make sure that we've got sustainable system in place? So that's all moving along. The Hub 66 IT services project, trying to remember whether you knew, but we have three proposals, sort of a little, middle, big operation, and we sort of are feeling like we're ending up in the middle of types of companies that would take over from Mark Cohen and provide us the additional support that we're going to need if we in fact move to fiber optic, which we probably will. We also along the way found out that, because I was asking Hub 66, we think we're going to select a vendor to work with moving forward. What's the timeline for the fiber? And they are saying that October is likely when we would actually be doing some actual work of lighting up our network, which would include under this new proposal, are providing through the hub here, fiber optic to all of our town buildings. So for me, it was I thought they would be moving faster than that. On the other side, they did give us an update saying they just got information that they have been released to get on the poles for Liberty as the first step. And so that's apparently their process. They have to get permission. The utility company has to get their equipment ready, do whatever they need to do on the poles before they let the other subs, so that fiber optic get on it. And so power's coming down, the fiber's coming down from Lebanon, and I gather that that's the first section of Liberty poles that they are now able to get on. But he said realistically, it'll be October before you're using fiber optic at the earliest. Let's see, the Spruce Park CDFA water main project has taken a little pause. They'd like to do a grant. They need to have a whole group meeting, and the place they meet doesn't have heat. And so and plus a couple folks are south for the weather. So they just said, we aren't in a position to make a decision. It's not horrible. I wish they were in a position to say go ahead, because that lets me move some things along. But I still think there's a good chance that they may come along and actually do something that would help the water district fix some sort of fundamental issues. Nothing earth shattering, just some dead end lines that we'd like to eliminate by moving things back.
Could we
So-
encourage them to use the community room at the library and?
I offered that, and they didn't take it right up, so I suspect there's other issues. I think a lot of it has to do with just the hesitancy that in order to do the grant, they have to do an income survey, and that makes people nervous.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the folks who did the presentation about doing that service did a really good job
Okay.
for the core team of the park, their board. But I think they felt they needed time to just
Okay.
talk to everybody individually and reassure them that data is
It would
protected.
not surprise me, Stephanie, if they just choose to do it on their own. I
Yeah,
mean, they have some cash and they don't, I think they're very leery of governmental strings and things like liens against the park and those things. But they do have a capital reserve fund.
right.
And
Yeah, they
I think I'm not too nervous. They've got their head together. They know they need to address these things, one of
Okay.
which is the water main issue.
Yeah.
It isn't an earth shattering thing for the water district. There's just room for improvement. And I think everybody's heading in the right direction, and just take.
I mean,
Take them
there
along.
could come a time, they are the 31 worst meters to change.
That's
They're
right.
they're
They
in
are.
bed. So there could come a time when we say to them, look, we're gonna install a meter at the start of the park.
Yeah.
And you guys, because we gotta be fair to everybody, everybody's gotta get an accurate bill. We're gonna give you the bill for $500 a quarter or whatever it is. You divide it,
Yeah,
you divide it however you choose to.
that's right.
And there's a couple other flavors in there too that they could do that would meet both of those objectives. So I'm not worried. I've got other things to do, converting the rest of the meters and working on the other programs, and so I think we give it a little bit of time and some version of progress will come out of this. Let's see, the highway roof project. I got a proposal today, the first actual turnkey proposal. I'd be happy to do this piece, or I'd be
Yeah.
happy to do these two pieces. This is one soup to nuts turnkey, and I think it's viable. I gotta do a little checking on the guy, because I haven't happened to work with him before. But I think they're gonna probably check out, and it is a little bit over our budget. I don't know, if at this point in the process, I was thinking about this today. It's not an official sealed bid process, so I can talk numbers if you want, but I can also hold things.
Yeah, we would, let's just say we're 10% over, over the budget, a little more than 10% over. But we would, if that's the best we can do, we would make the difference up in the facilities fund. You know, because it's, or operating budget. I mean, it's
Right,
that
right.
kind of number. It's not a number that would prevent it. One of the things we'll be having a discussion about with you is there's really two approaches. If you hire one of these guys who can do the whole job, they're gonna come in with their crew, they're gonna be in, they're gonna be out, it's gonna be done. That may cost a little more, but it may be a lot more convenient for highway and for us than having somebody put the sheeting and the roof on and then having somebody like Marshall do the truss work over the course of a year, you know, I mean, it might just be better to be done with it anyways. And so we've got a little fine tuning to do, as Brad said, on the proposal, but the article as written in the warrant will stand. And if there's a difference, it would be made up out of facilities.
Do you have a time frame when you think you'll be bringing the results of, what the decision to us, or when you want to make a decision on who?
We need to get on somebody's calendar, or I think the goal is, well, we have to do it this year because of the money.
Right.
I think, or though,
I mean.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna get a vote at town meeting to use unassigned fund balance, which is really ARPA. And
Yeah.
yes, we wanna
If
use
there's-
the money.
if
We
there's.
need to get it done. We need to get a
Yeah.
roof on the building.
Absolutely.
And so if there's a timeline, I haven't thought about it from your perspective, so if there's a time where you would really like to have us have made a decision.
No,
Tell
I'm just,
me to.
I'm
Yeah,
just sort of
like, I think
curious
by
about it,
April-
right? Like,
By the
by
April
April?
meetings, we will have decided.
would be helpful.
Yeah, and at some point, in order to get somebody on the calendar to know for a fact that we
Yeah.
could get it done this year, we have to make a decision on their
Soon.
proposal. For example, the proposal I got today expires in 15 days,
Yeah.
so I can always ask them.
Yeah, there's.
But they're just, everybody's afraid to put material numbers out there. Doesn't mean he wouldn't still be interested. He
Right,
just
but
wants another
He's
bite
not
at the
gonna
apple.
also, like Steph said, he's not gonna guarantee those material prices.
That's what it's all about.
But it is, yes.
That's exactly
Which
what
is
it's about.
crazy, but true.
I
So,
like the
Okay.
idea of it being all under one, company. Oftentimes the next guy that comes through is not happy with the way the first guy
Right,
did the first
right.
part, so.
Or they get
Yeah.
delayed or get hurt and then you're.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so I
No, I
like
get-
the idea of having it be,
I mean, I think the hardest part
But-
for us is being sure that we get a trusted vendor. That
yes.
we get a vendor that we know is gonna start, finish, no problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so not being familiar with this person means a little more work to vet that out.
yeah,
And I think, I agree, I think it would be great if it could be one person, but like, this is a decision you make. And
Yeah.
if you know all three, if there are
Right,
three
yeah.
people involved and you're like, no, they're gonna get it done and I'm confident, then
Yeah.
that's fine too, right? Like,
Yes,
but wouldn't it be nice to just deal with one person? I'm
Sure.
sure.
well,
Yeah,
the
let's
other
keep you
thing is, as
posted.
far as scheduling is concerned, if you're
Yeah.
dealing with one company,
Yeah.
you're not having to worry about coordinating three different
Yeah,
groups
no.
of people to.
I think we'll be fine, because.
But it will happen in April.
Yeah.
We need to
Okay,
make a
okay,
decision,
yeah.
before
If
April.
they're gonna do it this year, yeah.
The water treatment plant review process, that's a sustainability grant. I was told initially that it was on the governor council's meeting for the 11th. Looks like it didn't make the agenda. It is on for the 3rd, for March 4th. And so it's just got bumped out a little bit. That's the one that looks at how are we doing our treatment process? Are there ways we could improve it? And again, it's under a grant process. And we had a crack fitting at the pump house, fairly minor thing, but mostly a nuisance because it meant we couldn't run things at full pressure. That got fixed. We're back up and things are running pretty normally. Had a request for the free lead test that we're allowed and or required to do as far for EPA, but it gets run by DES. I had requested sample bottles a month ago or more, and they just haven't arrived. They're coming up soon, but I've got, Westgate Condos would like to do it, or at least several people in the condos. And then I've had a spattering of other folks ask me, and we're allowed to chunk them, but it's a process I'm supposed to do. Or coordinate, let the world know that it's possible, give them a point of contact that's local. And so we did that in one of our billing mailings, and we've gotten some response, and so we'll be following up on that. That's about it. There's always lots of little things, but those are the big ones.
Have a question for Brad?
Yeah, I just want to understand, what is the standard bidding process that the town has? Just like when you hire somebody.
We understand, I understand the
So,
question.
Bidding
Got
process,
it.
because now you're just,
Maria,
yeah,
you asked the question, I'm ready to answer it.
okay.
It depends on the size of the project as to what the bidding process is. Do you have it in writing that you could send it along there?
I can, and this project is part of that, and Brad has done an RFP, he's advertised it in the Valley News. And we've gotten one contractor so far who would give us the whole job, several contractors that would do pieces of it, and that's where we're working through. But this job at over $100,000, I mean, I think it's over 10 or 15 that we are bidding. But this job qualifies for that, and we've gone through that process.
Well, you have, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, but if you could send me that, that would be good.
Yeah, in fact,
Great.
I don't have to send it to you. If you go to the town website and look under ordinances, it's posted there.
Chris,
How many?
Well, you just look down through the ordinance book and you will find the purchase
I don't
book.
have the time to do that. If you know exactly where it is, I would appreciate receiving. it.
Sure, I mean, it's not difficult to find our ordinances,
Yeah.
but I'm sure Steve could send that.
Yeah,
to you.
thank you.
Chris,
So,
same topic.
yeah,
Brad's
we're
report.
talking about
Right.
the road shed.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, this is a warrant article, correct?
It is a
The
warrant,
100 to move, they use the unassigned fund balance.
$100,000, yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
So, just playing devil's advocate here. If that was to be defeated at town meeting,
Yes. Then we wouldn't do the roof.
then we wouldn't do the roof and, but poor Brad over here has to do all the footwork to get the.
Yes, because we want to make sure the article is adequate.
He can say, hey, have you gotten quotes on how
Oh,
much?
right, you have to have a number.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's okay, that's Brad's job to do the footwork,
Yeah.
if people decide to do it, it's more poor Rich who's going to be working in a building.
With a roof.
Without a safe roof, right?
Right.
So,
Duct tape won't hold that one, honey.
I mean, it's a decision the town can make, for sure.
But it
that-
is,
that
and
roof
it is a project that has been on our list for,
A
you
long
can
time.
go back 10 years and people were starting to express concern. And we have the work that a committee did years ago on the highway garage, we have worked through that. Some of those things on the list, things like the floor drains, the
Well.
drilling a new well, improving the highway department break area. I think the biggest piece of work we've done over those years, besides those in the field things, is to essentially make the decision that we're not gonna bond for a brand new highway garage.
That's right, so we had this ARPA money. that we
Right, so
were able-
this highway garage will be
This
our.
isn't dollars that are being
No,
added.
That's
it's
right.
leftover grant money,
Right.
actually, that was like tucked aside,
Or something.
so.
And so it's a good use, it's a brick and mortar use of that federal
Yes.
money to allow us to take care of one of our biggest assets.
Stephanie,
Hi, okay, so, I wanna give a big public shout to the KUA hockey team. The men's hockey team reached out to me to ask if they could do some community service right after the big snowstorm. It was a little delayed from the snowstorm, but they were able to get out and help, a family that was in need of shoveling to get to their propane tank, so that was great. Also, a big shout out to KUA. They did something called Project Cupid. And so they made some Valentine cards and cookies and delivered them and scattered kindness around town. So that was really exciting. So thank you for KUA and their huge support of our community.
Scattered kindness, I'm gonna make sure that's in the minutes, scattered kindness.
So I am in need of housing right now for a young family that is staying in a hotel in the Upper Valley. They were evicted and we have a mom, dad, 10-year-old, and mom is expecting a baby in, late May. So I am in desperate need of a 2-bedroom apartment. We are on a fixed budget. So if anybody has any leads, I would love them. We have visited a few apartments, but nothing is panning out. So just want to put that on people's radar. If anybody knows, please reach out to me. I did post it on Cornish Connect, but unfortunately I didn't get any bites, so let me know. Community luncheon is tomorrow. We thank the Plainfield Community Church, which is the Baptist Church on 12A, for hosting us tomorrow at 12 noon. We're doing soup and sandwiches, and I hear there's homemade cookies and ice cream for dessert, so that should be yummy. Food pantry and community resource room is open this weekend, Friday, Saturday from 9 to 10:30. Believe it or not, we are starting summer camp registrations, and so there will be a posting for anybody that would like to make a scholarship donation to local kids in town to attend camp. That will be out and about. And just be aware that Plainfield School's on vacation next week, so take it easy. Kids will be out and about, hopefully playing in the snow or in the mud puddles. Who knows what weather's gonna bring. And that's
That's it. Thank you.
The apartment, do transportation issues require that the apartment be in Plainfield?
No, the family does have one car.
So
So
within
transportation.
like Lebanon,
Lebanon,
Windsor.
Claremont, Windsor. We'd really like to stay in New Hampshire if possible because of the state funding that the family is receiving. It would be easier for them just to keep all of their supports in
okay,
place.
yeah.
Dad works in Lebanon. And so right now they're commuting from Lebanon to Plainfield. And you know, the child is thriving at the school, and so we're keeping that all in place with funding from the state as well. So.
Okay.
But it's not, hotel is not a home.
No.
Rich, highway.
Well, main thing is plowing, salting, sanding. That's the main thing we've been doing. And keep going and keep going. That's our main thing, so we, truck one plow, something happened to the plow that, I fixed that. Strobe light went out on truck 3 and truck 8, we fixed them. And we did go down and clean the sidewalk in front of the library on 12A, because we're having issues with a snow blower. And lo and behold, I fixed the snow blower today, because I finally got the parts for that, so we can go back to snow blowing the sidewalk down here again. And pushing the snowbanks back to keep it so people can see. We've been doing that, push back roads to get so water can get off the road. If it does decide to rain, it's supposed to rain this week, but that never happened. And working on chains, and manufactured sand, we use 33 yards. Salt, we're up to 537 yards, and
Tons.
winter sand. Yeah, I know, I mean, no matter what.
Yeah, it's $70 a ton,
No, it's not even that now.
68 or
You
whatever,
know,
89, whatever. It's a big number. It's a big number.
Right. And then, winter sand, we're at, 1,800. For just the plain sand. And that's all we got.
And we are, Rich's, because of the cold weather, we haven't been pressing hard to bring the grader home, just because it's hard to start in cold weather and things, and so this next week, you're hoping to get it with Chris? Cool.
I'm hoping today or tomorrow.
Excellent.
I mean, it's
Great.
ours, it's up there, we just gotta get it home, and then Rich has got some work he wants to do in terms of fluids and changing, you know, everything, getting it all sort of back to square one. We don't know how it's been used in the past in terms of the fluids, how long they've been in. So we're gonna you're gonna change everything out, Rich, all the filters,
Change the filters, fluids.
and,
Whatever.
but we should,
Be done.
we'll definitely have it ready to go for mud season. Which, depending on what you believe, but is either gonna be nothing or epic. And so,
Let's hope it's not.
Stage Road is interesting. Stage Road is kind of like a, right, it's like a.
Y'all wanna drink your coffee, go downstairs.
Right, and I had said, because I mostly come this direction, I had said to Brad, oh, it's not bad the other end. The Plainfield end of stage is worse than the Meriden end.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, so
You don't wanna
if
put
frost
litter on
heaves are an indication of mud season, we got troubles.
We got you.
But we'll see. Rich will know. You're thinking 2 weeks? I always like to get it in the minutes, but you're
I-
thinking about 2 weeks
I'm
for the
thinking
road
first
post.
of March or somewhere in that range, yeah.
Yeah.
All depends on how warm it gets, really. But if it starts getting up in the 40s and 50s, I'm sure it's gonna be.
There'll be a lot of delighted people. It's up to
Really,
them.
if you see people with smiles. But other than that,
Thank you, Rich.
you're welcome.
Chief, police.
So after 6 months of trying to get replacement parts for the front push bumpers of the cruisers. We got them. They're under warranty because they were rotting and peeling, so we got the replacement parts that are under warranty, so that'll be taken care of. Update on vehicle inspections for the state. The vehicle inspection program is suspended until further notice. Inspection stations will no longer be authorized to issue state inspection stickers, and vehicles will not be required to obtain an annual state inspection at this time. Drivers are still responsible under current law to ensure that any vehicle driven in New Hampshire is safe to operate regardless of the status of the inspection program.
Yeah.
So wait,
I
even
got
if
a
I
question.
wanted to get my car inspected, like, the garage can't do that for me.
You won't get a sticker.
Right, they
Right.
can do all,
I mean, you can have them
I
inspect
can
it,
inspect
but
it, okay,
It's
So-
not nothing, so
okay,
it did.
interesting.
I'm gonna throw a personal one in there because this happened to us just the other day. Took my wife's van because we hadn't inspected it in January because, well, we were told we didn't have to. Then we had to, so what we did, took it over to Plainfield Auto. Jimmy put it up on the lift and we're looking it all over and he goes, that drive shaft's broke. And I mean, there was the smallest piece of metal holding the drive shaft together. And the 2 days before, we drove to Deerfield, New Hampshire, not in that vehicle. We wouldn't have got home. And he and I were both talking about, even you, going down the road, you're not gonna see that. The only way you would have seen that is on a lift.
There may
You know,
be
it's not-
something to be said for an inspection.
Exactly, a safety
Exactly.
inspection.
Right?
Doesn't say you can't have it done once a year.
Right,
yourself.
and most of the mechanics are saying, we'll do it.
I know, but those stickers are a good reminder, right? Like I might not do it every year, anyway,
Your
whatever.
birthday,
Well-
your birthday month.
We'll see.
I came from the state of Connecticut where we didn't
That's-
have inspections. We had them years ago and they got rid of them.
Yeah.
So it basically came upon law enforcement's responsibility to find the violations or whatever. But obviously you wanna make sure you're driving your car safe, so you bring in, have your oil change or whatever they put up on the lift, they can see what's on there and they're gonna point things out, but.
So how did you find it in Connecticut? Was it a problem or not a problem? Did you?
It wasn't a problem because the state uses it as revenue because the more cars that we stopped for violations, we gave tickets and then money came in. Which,
Gotcha.
one of the things I didn't understand with the RSA with the state of New Hampshire is for inspections, there was no set price for an inspection. It should be a statewide, this is how much it costs, $50 for an inspection, no matter what car.
And what you will find this summer, as you all register your cars, as people are finding now,
More money.
is the state has increased all those fees to make up for
Right.
the lost revenue from inspections, but.
Oh, great.
And I can tell you that insurance costs when you insure your vehicle, if New Hampshire does, our insurance already said there'll be an increase because they can't guarantee the safety of anything on the road.
Ribbon free.
So that's not including, commercial rigs, is it?
I think that's different because of, CDL license and all
Right,
that
well, that's
stuff.
what I'm wondering, is if that, because I haven't heard anything about it yet.
Yeah, I think this is just for,
The motorcycles, I haven't heard nothing about those.
yeah. So, right now,
When your inspection month for the trucks is September?
this is
I'll find
the
out.
news
I got
release that was
races.
released by the state, and this is what was given to us. How we proceed, so if they're gonna mess up with that.
Do they know when this is gonna be settled?
No, let's see, according to this,
Well, I think New Hampshire thinks it is settled.
Right.
They're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
And it's,
No.
As of
they're
February
still
3rd.
exploring options to
Right.
continue to comply with the court's order, but currently lack the legal authority to operate a vehicle inspection program, given that there is no approved vendor for the program.
Right.
And
Unless there's a new RSA.
It was the vendor who sued over the,
No.
over
EPA.
Which lost.
right, that we weren't satisfying the EPA regs if we didn't have inspections.
So that's gonna be around long anyway. Anything else?
We're still working on our CAD program, CSI to iron out some kinks. It's taking longer than usual. It's something that didn't foresee being an issue, but
What program is that?
our CAD, our computer aided dispatching
Okay.
CSI program. We were meeting with the vendor tomorrow for our new model body cameras, so that's a good thing. And
And this is gonna complete the old agreement, but with new cameras, right? You've been able to negotiate new updated cameras. I mean, Eric has never liked the cameras that were got under the previous chief. And we're on the final year of paying for them, but apparently Axon has, is it Axon?
no, I wish it was Axon. It's not Axon, it's WatchGuard.
WatchGuard has decided to give you the newest technology that they have to see if that makes you happy.
Right,
And so we're gonna have newer cameras, even though the ones we're paying for would have been 3 years old. We won't have any bill and we'll have a new camera to see if this is better.
we're under the guise of being a testing site.
So that's, and the chief, I think it's fair to say that he's taken a close look at all of the communication costs that the town has with dispatch emergency services. You know, it comes up periodically, but new chief, new review, looking at Hanover, looking at other options, just because the numbers are getting so big. And Hanover has become the hub of all dispatching in the area, which is a good thing. They have very good technology, but they are very, very busy and it's hard sometimes for us to
I
get.
looked online today, I think they dispatched 16 different departments.
And so, you know, there was years ago, we were very close to going to Claremont. And then there was some issues there that we weren't able to finish the deal. But certainly, I think the hope would be, you know, the intention would be if we were to ever change dispatching, and there is no plans today to change dispatching, but if we were ever to, we would take both police and fire. You know, the whole thing would go. We wouldn't go back to Lebanon doing fire and Hanover doing police or anything of that nature.
Just in a data collection state right now, looking at numbers and seeing what's out there. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
You have anything for fire?
Well, Bruce thought he might zoom in, but I told him, I think he was helping somebody that he's got a family member that's having some surgery, so he was helping with that, told him not to worry about it. I think if you follow the social media for the fire department, they've done a wonderful job and are very proud of the lettering on the new truck. The new fire truck looks good. I think it still has a little bit, one trip to Dingy's because of the cold weather. They wanted to wait until warmer weather. But that project continues to go very well. I think he had a couple more calls. He's up to 19 for the year, which is a lot for this time of the year. They spent, and I felt bad for the guys, they spent 5 hours, 3.5 hours. So the chief out here at Main Street Bonner, because the annual car that comes down Main Street tries to make the left onto Bonner and then goes into Bud Hill's field upside down. It just happens at least once a season, it seems, and that's a hard one to get up because you fall over a cliff. And so you gotta get your back up on the road is some work. You guys were there a lot of hours.
I was there for 3, yes.
Yeah, it was, the fire was there.
I attended Monday night's training at the fire department, and it was interesting. Being a former canine handler, so it was all about search and rescue, and they had the Claremont officer come with their dog to explain how to preserve a scene, so you're not contaminating the scent of the person that ran off or whatever. So it was quite interesting. It's good seeing the dog stuff again.
No. Chief Elder is, I think, really enjoying being chief, and he's very active at it. He's at the fire station every day. You know, he spends a lot of time there and just doing great work for us.
Do you have an administrative report?
I've got some things, but we'll work them in under other agenda items if you want, Ron. So we can go to what is the final SB 2 hearing. We've had 2 others because we timed them with our budget hearings, which made sense because we were talking about town government and budgets and that sort of thing. There is a requirement in law that you have one no sooner than 30 days before the meeting, but, or no further out than 30 and no sooner than 15. So the 18th of February, school just did theirs, I think, last night, the 17th of February. And so I think we've said all we probably need to say on Senate Bill 2, but it's a public hearing. And we can move forward with that, Ron, any way you like.
Okay, any comments? Yes.
Well, you could put the website up.
Is that okay?
By he, you mean Steve? You
And,
mean Steve by he?
yeah,
Okay, well, there are three he's.
if you start on the first,
Well, hold on, I need to share.
we didn't practice.
And so that is the website you sent me the link to, Maria.
Yes. Thanks, Rich.
Put on those
See you,
little
Rich.
lines
Yeah.
on the left side,
Yeah?
yeah, you click on that, go on home. And basically, it just scroll up,
Scroll up.
yeah.
What is this that we're looking
Okay, this is the new Plainfield Pulse website that will be like a digital town, place. Where all, I'm actually I was talking to, Stephanie, there's gonna be a section specifically for seniors as well and others.
at? Like a town bulletin board kind of thing?
Yeah, kind of, but
Run by-
this will have
run by whom?
information, just if you scroll it up.
Well, I don't know that I can scroll it up, Maria. I don't see the scroll button.
No, just, oh, okay, there, keep on going.
Maria,
I
who's
see it, it
doing,
just
who's doing this?
Oh, okay. So, me,
Okay.
And
I'm
you-
one person per se.
Just out of curiosity, have you gotten permission to use the parish image?
No, I haven't. I saw that it has it on the Plainfield, what do you call it?
Okay, yeah, I don't know.
I can change it. It's not a big deal.
You may want to just ask
We
that,
wanna-
yeah.
Yeah,
Just
we
get
want,
copyright.
that's a beautiful thing that Plainfield has,
Mhm.
and not that many people know about it. And once the building gets done, so I thought that was pretty. It's artistic and,
The idea is good, but you don't want to end up in trouble for
oh, yeah,
having.
no, I definitely don't, but. This is the first
Okay,
time
if
I'm
this
doing
is,
it.
if this is information about the new website, that would have been a public comment.
No,
or something. If
That's
we're
why I
going
wanted
on to
to pull it up.
SB2,
So,
let's go
okay,
ahead.
So what I'll do is, yesterday's, school board meeting, I spoke about the participation gap. And I showed, and, you can scroll there and figure out, look at the reports that I have. And we did a whole chart for 10 years.
Mhm.
And it showed that we have such little participation. We figured out one of them, when we get to that,
When you say we, Maria, who are you
Yeah,
referring to?
Who's we?
well, I called up here to get the,
But really, it's you.
yes, me,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Can we get there so we know what you're talking about?
Said, no, keep on going.
There it is.
Their introduction, see where it says introduction down below? Okay, that's it. And now keep on going.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, like I said, yesterday, in this website, it shows for 10 years, 5.6% of the registered voters voted on this is in 2020, voted on a 2.5 million budget, and I break it down, so you keep on going. So I spoke about the participation gap, and then SB2 and the accessibility, which is, it levels the playing field. It allows for absentee ballots, which is important for quite a few number of people. And data shows that towns switching from this format see a turnout jump to over 60%. And it showed, one particular town went up
Scroll down, I don't know.
30%.
Down as far as I can go.
No, it goes there. You see, keep on going.
Well,
See at the bottom, 20,
see, I'm right there. I'm
no, keep on
grabbing.
going.
Yeah.
And
Where would I go? It doesn't.
it does go. It goes.
But it's not going.
I mean, that's the scroll bar.
There's a
Yeah,
window
keep
within the
that
window,
going.
I think.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
No, it
Steve,
goes
if you
down to more.
put your mouse in the middle. and use the-
Should put-
use the-
put-
use the
yeah.
scroll.
So basically,
No.
Go up a little.
that was what was
There,
covered in.
Oh,
stop, there's a.
there
big
it
scroll
is.
bar. Yeah.
Right
See the
there.
gray one,
This
so
one
there
here.
you go.
One.
So what we covered that yesterday at, yeah, that, so this is what we covered yesterday at the school board. And down here, I had some specific items to go over because it's particular to the town. But we have, you know, you can actually, review this website at your leisure because it'll have all the records. But mainly, like it says here, I'm here to but going back to yesterday, the parking lot was full at the school. And guess what? Only one person, Mr. Decker here, was the only one that actually bothered to come and see the school board meeting. So this is what I mean. We have not even, they don't, as you well know, not that many people even attend here. I don't see Mr. Decker every day, you know, every time at the meeting. So that's why the participation part is super important. We're leaving a lot of people behind. And this website is gonna bring transparency. And hopefully, like, I know we're gonna have a historical society program that says that's pro-traditional town meeting. But basically, the transition to SB2 is not about destroying tradition. It's about modernizing participation. And we are excluding 30% of our neighbors, working parents, seniors who cannot attend late night sessions. SB2 ensures that every registered voter has a voice through an all-day ballot. Now, the data here is, and as you well know, why I started this. The $130,000 ripple effect, where transparency is required because of our current traditional oversight has gaps. And right now we have $130,000 in uncollected property tax debt. And that money, I don't know how many years we've been waiting to collect that. It must be years because $130,000 takes a while to accumulate.
Just if I can add in for you, Maria, 130,000 on a town of Plainfield size is a tiny amount. It means it means everybody but 2 houses in our
Yes.
community is
We
performing.
understand.
And we are reluctant to put anybody out of their home. However,
Oh,
if the tax bill, unpaid tax bill
Mhm.
reaches a point where it's equal to or greater than the value of the property, then we would do it. We're not gonna lose this money. And compared, I don't have the exact figures, but compared to other municipalities in the state of New Hampshire, it's an excellent record.
okay, well, that's why you consider $130,000 nothing.
We don't.
Didn't say
We-
that.
That's not
Nobody
what we
said
said.
that.
Okay.
Okay, so
So here.
Let's
is-
continue
this
to
is just
keep
a
this
number
on
the
SB2,
page.
please.
Yeah, so here, it's a taxpayer penalty. When revenue isn't collected, the rest of us, especially those on fixed incomes, pay higher rates to cover the difference. Furthermore,
How would
we're spending,
SB2 be helpful in collecting this money?
we would have more transparency and people would know that this is happening.
Or would they do?
Because where does it say on your budget that we don't have, that this?
we
all this
talk about
uncollected-
it freely in
It's
open
there,
meetings
yeah.
all
Yeah,
the
but
time,
because people don't.
all the time around.
Only,
And that
yeah,
wouldn't be
only
covered in the
recently-
town meeting
Only
anyway.
recently did we go back on the video. I'm still waiting for the school board to go on video, but they're creating policy.
SB2.
So here, the closing is a call for neutrality. Finally, I want to remind this board that as we move toward to vote, municipal neutrality is required by RSA 66417. Information must flow freely. We invite everyone to visit the website, see the data for themselves. The flyer has been submitted to the town and for weeks. And so it was held hostage, my flyer. And today it was finally posted. So let's make this decision based on facts, not fear. I request that this website be displayed as part of the public records for this hearing. And Mr. Decker
So
here.
I don't think that it's appropriate for this website to be attached to the town website.
No, I'm saying to the minutes. You will include the website, so in case,
You're asking us to put
Somebody
the link
want
to
your-
the website and.
Yes.
I think we can do
And
that.
That makes.
I
okay.
We can do
respond
that.
fast.
We'll
yeah.
do it.
And I, like Mr. Decker there was at yesterday's, he had some he had comments that he made, and I immediately emailed him. But I still have not heard a response, so, you know, it's basically, I'd like
He was
to.
at work all day, but yeah.
Yeah, well, well, this is part of the shock, because his company works for the town, is paid by the town.
That is not true.
SB2.
He's
That's
not our
true.
attorney.
Well, no, he's paid by the school.
But
board.
SB two.
Anyway, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what was an SB two.
But thank you so much.
Okay.
All right, so we'll get the link to that website in our
And anybody can
minutes of
look at-
tonight's
look-
meeting. Okay,
All the data is there.
okay.
It
Thank
speaks
you.
for itself. Thank you.
Any other SB2 related discussion for this hearing?
And say a few words.
Sure.
I stopped by the hearing last night for the school district, and I stopped in here tonight because I really, really love traditional town meeting. And for town of Plainfield, I hope that the SB2 doesn't pass. It's true, I am a municipal attorney, and my firm represents 80+ New Hampshire towns and cities. My firm does represent Plainfield School District. I do not. I don't have any personal interest one way or the other. I don't have my firm doesn't have an interest in whether school district or the town is SB2 or traditional town meetings. Our attorneys get asked to attend deliberative sessions or business sessions either way, depending on what the controversial issues might be at the meeting. But in my day job, I attend lots of deliberative sessions and business sessions for both SB2 and traditional. So I feel like I could offer some helpful commentary about it a little bit. So for example, this year I attended 3 SB2 meetings a couple weeks back, and I've got 6 or 7 traditional town meetings on the calendar to attend starting in early March. One thing to remember about SB2 is that it's effectively a one-way street because it requires a 60% threshold to adopt SB2. It also requires a 60% threshold to repeal it. So once a town adopts SB2, it's very hard, nigh impossible to get that 60% threshold to repeal it when you have many voters who can just show up and vote on ballot day. They enjoy that convenience, and you're not going to get that 60% threshold to repeal it. So it is effectively a one-way street final decision. Anecdotally, I hear from clients that they who are town officials that the towns who've adopted SB2 regret adopting. And again, that's just anecdotally, I don't have data for that. I haven't done any studies about that. That's just what I've heard, and I'll provide an illustration as to why. But in general, I find that the SB2 deliberative session presents more difficulties because you get lower voter turnout at that deliberative session. And then you have a much higher turnout voting on the ballot. And unfortunately, try as you might to inform all those voters, there's going to be a substantial portion of those voters who aren't informed about the details of the items that are on the warrant because they didn't sit through the deliberative session. Another specific issue with the SB2 ballot is that it's a binary option. It's yes or no. You don't have the option to go back and get it right. You do your best at the deliberative session, but whatever goes on the ballot is an up or down vote. And if the many more voters who come out to vote on ballot day don't approve that, you don't have the opportunity to go back and correct it and find a better fit for that particular warrant article. So as an illustration, one SB2 deliberative session I was at this year, the select board put an article on the warrant, $500,000 for paving of town roads. And they had the road agent talk in detail about exactly how much distance that was gonna cover. And effectively, the road agent said, we're going to fall behind. $500,000 is not gonna keep up with our paving needs. We're going to fall behind with this amount. But the select board said we went with $500,000 because we don't think the voters will approve more on the ballot day. And then you had people in the room who wanted to increase that amount to $800,000. And the select board said, yes, we agree, $800,000 is a much more appropriate number, but we're afraid to put that on the ballot because we think voters are gonna see that number and they're gonna shoot it down. And if they shoot down $800,000, we don't get $500,000 for paving, we get zero for paving for that year. And you run into similar issues with the operating budget and with the default budget. So all in all, I like traditional town meeting and I hope that we don't lose that this year.
Thank you. Right.
So just two questions, did that is that passing or what do you call it? What town is this? So we can all look it up.
I don't think I had to disclose which town I was in attendance at. I mean, it's just an illustration, an example.
But it happened, so somewhere,
So
did the newspaper?
Well, it hasn't
I
been
think
voted
I
on yet
verified
because
it.
the,
We're at an impasse here. He's under no obligation. You can say anything and not have to back it up as
Well,
anybody.
no, everything's. backed up
Anybody here?
On the web.
I reiterate what I said at the second hearing 2 weeks ago at our select board meeting. And it was stated more clearly than I'm able to do it by our two past moderators, Paul Franklin and Steve Taylor. It's not like one is a terrible idea and one is a wonderful idea. One is favored by good people, the other by bad people. There are pluses and minuses to both, depending on the wisdom of the voters who bother to vote on things. It dependent upon the size of the town. And so we've had 3 hearings where people have been able to present their viewpoints on it. And the select board has, by a unanimous vote of 3-0, decided not to support this warrant article based on, the work that we did and the understanding that we have. So moving forward, the community will vote for it, vote on that issue. Yes,
no, just when you're done. Okay.
I can be.
I just wanted to say, I guess, for the record, I feel like, this is it, it'll go to the voters and there are, I have my own personal feelings about it, but the voters will decide what they want to do, and that is fine. The one thing that I have taken, great exception to in some of the things that I've read, and I would like to say for the record, is this characterization that the members of the select board, and our town administrator are not interested in, we do all these things to suppress voter participation. And while I might disagree about the way to get that, I would like it to be on the record that one of the exciting things about this, Maria, is that people have come out and given us their opinions. I wish every meeting had people coming out and listening. Some of the things people said, I never heard that. Well, it was said in an open meeting that I don't blame people for not coming to every one of our meetings, but our work has been characterized as being sort of in secret. We actually never meet in secret. Every once in a while, and we will have one tonight, we have non-public sessions, but that's not secret. It's very seriously to discuss matters that could impact someone's reputation and often a personnel matter. We state why. I think my fellow select board members will tell you I am a stickler for it. And as soon as the conversation veers, just because we're human and you start to say, remember we're in non-public session and this is why. And other members will correct us as well. So that's the one thing I would like to, this will go to the voters and whatever happens, and we will live with the form of government the voters choose for sure. We're in the middle of one voters in the past chose. Is it perfect? It is not, but I do want that stated that I don't think there any of my fellow select board members are trying to keep anything out of the public. We're happy to send people information. We're happy to discuss our decisions. you know, we act as a board, not as individuals, and we all bring different experiences to it. So I just, that's the part that I think, oh, yeah, like, you know, I have other things I could be doing on a Wednesday night too, but I love this town. So any characterization is that I don't want to do my best. I may not be doing my best in your eyes for the people of this town, but I'm trying to. I'm bringing my best to it every single week. So anyway, I feel like I have to say that.
There's something that I'd like to add along that
Yeah.
line, is that as far as general participation in town government, we had one person put their name in the hat for the empty
Yeah.
select board seat, one person.
Yeah.
So it's not just the
Sure.
voting
I
situation.
saw that in Steve's
Yeah,
blurb on Facebook. Is it possible for, if someone were to come along now, to do a write-in campaign?
You can do
Yeah.
right.
They can't get on the ballot,
You
right?
can't get on the ballot, but you can write in, you can stand at by the door of the election
Right.
all day
we
and
have
say,
that right.
That's happened in the past.
Yeah.
just in
We've had that
terms
on the
of,
school board.
just in terms of openness,
Yeah.
candidate Kent Weber is right beside you.
It's nothing personal, Ken.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on
He
the
has
spot.
yet
there.
to withdraw his name.
No, no, too late, too late.
I think the other thing that I would say is I found myself after the last meeting, sitting at home going, I'm dead center in the middle of the age gap. I hate to admit that now. You know, I remember back to the days of my grandfather being at town meeting and participating in everything under the sun for town boards and such like that. And I also understand the schedule that my family and
Mhm.
Matt's family have with our kids and things like that take our time. And what Ron said, I think is the truth. We would love to have a perfect fix, and I don't know if there is one. But finding a way, and in the last 2 weeks, as you said, Amy, I've heard more people say, what is this?
Yeah,
And which is great, and I've heard a lot more people say they're planning on going to town meeting to figure out what this is. And I hope that's true. We were joking that if all the registered voters in the town of Plainfield show up to the school, we're gonna have a seating problem.
we'll figure it out though.
Yeah.
We'll figure out
Hopefully the ice rink
something.
is open.
Yeah.
But I think there does have to be, you know, and I had been wondering about this even before I heard what SB2 was, like, yeah, how do, I served in the military and there were many times that I wasn't home to vote for anything.
Yeah,
You know, how does somebody in the military get to have their voice heard in town? My wife is a nurse and works every other weekend. You know, there's a large portion of voters who can't come. So is there a possibility, you know, if it's not SB2, can you do a not, if you can't be there in person?
not this year.
Yeah, not this year, gotta be in person,
So,
you know, so there's,
I mean, my husband and I both work Saturdays. I have
Right.
vacation once, he works every Saturday, right? This isn't like, you know,
It's
theoretical.
not a new
I get
thing.
it, right? I
When
get
I
it.
understand that, you
Can
know,
I
it
put
just, like
something-
Ron said, there's no good answer
Right.
to either the old or the new.
Yeah.
So one of the things to speak to your question directly, it doesn't have to be on the town meeting day. We have select board meetings.
What-
First,
what
we have your participation in how the town functions.
Oh,
Doesn't
yeah,
have
no,
to
I
be a
understand
town.
that.
No, but I'm gonna finish because it's not just for you, it's for everybody. I wanna say this. We have select board meetings the first and third Wednesday of the month. We have public comment sessions at the beginning, right after we do the minutes. If there's anyone who wants to participate in what's going on in this town, they are welcome to show up at this select board meeting, voice their concerns, and we as a board and the department heads will take what they've said into consideration when we make the decisions moving forward throughout the year. It's not just about at town meeting. It's not just about the voting time.
But
We're here
I
all
don't think that
year.
would go away even if we did vote for it.
That's right.
That's my
Yeah,
point,
yeah.
is that
The
either way.
participation, you know, me showing
We're
up to this
here.
meeting is still going to be possible in SB2.
And the things that you say are being taken into
Yeah.
consideration. That's my point.
I think the
So,
biggest, I
we're
think
not
everyone can
requesting
agree,
anything.
trying to get more participation from the voters in town is the goal.
100%. And listen, I get not everyone's available on a Wednesday night at 6 o'clock, right? If you have kids, you just from home, I get that. Yeah, sorry. Yes, right?
So I've been here and seen the participation in the meetings or whatever, and we finally upgraded and have it on YouTube now.
Yeah.
What people don't realize, well, I realize, I don't know if anybody else realizes, but you go on there and it'll show you how many people viewed it, and it's
Yeah.
still abysmal. So we've
Or,
made it,
I looked at, I think it was the one, I went looking for the last meeting,
You
wasn't
won't
there.
find it.
won't find it, so I looked at the one before, 14.
but we've made it so people can watch it
Right.
at home,
And-
and it's still not doing it, so.
It's not everybody's hobby,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Like, I get that, and I know there are people who are just like, we assume you don't know.
But when it came to our no through truck traffic
Yeah.
or whatever, shared it on our Facebook page, people were like, oh, this is illegal, you can't do this, all this naysaying, it's like, listen. We did the proper channels,
And-
and I had people asking, on it, goes, well, what about UPS and FedEx? It's like, read the full
Yeah.
ordinance, the answer lies right there.
People are still people, aren't they?
But
Yeah.
It's just,
I had a question for, you've probably dealt with SB2 more than anyone in the room, just because of your role as council. Have you, for me personally, and I'm with you and a lot of people in this town, and that I wanna keep traditional town meeting for as long as we possibly can, and acknowledging everything else we've said here. I would find SB2 much more palatable if what I suspect was a legislative attempt to replicate town meeting was taken out of it. If there wasn't a deliberative session, if in fact you could participate in the budgeting process, if you chose to,
Mhm.
the selectmen, the city councils, or whoever it is, I guess town council, set the budget, set the expenditures, and then people voted on them. The danger in SB2, the one-way valve is interesting, but and something I hadn't thought about, but the real danger that I've seen in SB2 is the deliberative session does the very thing SB2 is trying to promote, which is get greater participation, but it gets worse participation than town meeting. And so a group of 25 people show up with a burr in their saddle about a highway or the town budget or some other thing. There is no choice. You have to take the ballot to the voters as amended at the deliberative session. And so, have you ever heard, Matt, of any tinkering to either do away with deliberative session or make it informational but not open to amendments?
I've not heard that.
I mean, it just feels like Sunapee had $1 million taken out of their budget. Croydon lost their school budget one year, right? Had to go back to court and, you know, it is one thing to say, well, I wish the town would run on $100,000 less or $50,000 less. The town can't run on $1 million less. It can't, or people have to go home and we stop plowing roads.
Yeah.
And so you can be mischievous at a deliberative session if only 25 people show up. And so that for me is the real harm in Senate Bill 2, is the deliberative session. All the work we do for 3 months can be taken out of, you know, can be amended to zero at that meeting, and
That can happen at
I was
a.
gonna say,
town
couldn't that
meeting
happen
too,
at a
though,
town
right?
meeting?
it could, but the town has to vote on that. And
And not just.
But in an
Yeah.
I'm just trying to,
I mean, the historical record is that the
The
deliberative
deliberative-
sessions get almost nobody to attend.
well,
Right, but
but.
it could happen at town meeting.
Right,
Yeah.
it could happen at town meeting.
Absolutely.
But
And if it does,
in
we
the
live it.
SB2, Matt, correct me if I'm misunderstanding this. You have your deliberative session and motions are made to take $1 million out of the budget. Just for the record, we're not talking about our budget.
Right.
We're using general
Yeah.
round numbers. It still has to get voted on, so the voting public could say, no, we disagree with that. And
But they can't
It is,
change
but
it,
it's a
though.
very quick turnaround in terms of the ballots are printed and you have the session. And so there's not the period of time to discuss it.
I thought there was a break in time.
Well,
When I
there
had looked up, I
there
thought
has
there
to be
was-
some period of time. I
Yeah,
mean,
like 30 days.
you know, in our world, we would probably have the deliberative session X day and vote in April, right? Because we
Right.
can't be closer than we are right now, but if, and maybe this is maybe the question to Matt, if the deliberative session votes it, takes the 500 out or the 1 million out, and the rest of the town says, oh my God, I can't live with that, they have no choice to amend it back in, which you can do at the floor of town meeting, but you can't do it in the ballot. The only choice is to vote yes or no on the ballot.
Right,
Budget.
once you,
Oh,
so
okay.
once you
Yeah,
finalize
that's what I'm asking.
an article and move it to the ballot and vote to start the reconsideration on it. I mean, that, the operating budget is protected from that because there's the default budget. So if somebody, if a mischievous group cuts an operating budget by 50%, then suddenly the official position has to be vote no for the operating budget so that we get the default budget instead.
Right.
But any other article doesn't have the default backup.
So your warrant articles, like $100,000 of unassigned
That's right.
Right.
could fail, and there's no recourse.
Or the purchase of something. or-
Right, so that's what I was saying with like the $500,000 for paving of town roads. If that gets slashed to $100,000, and that's what puts on the gets put on the ballot, then your only choice is $100,000 or zero.
And so it really would suggest to towns, as they did the administration of the budget process, to get more and more of the whole package in the operating budget. Less warrant articles, more in the operating budget, because at least the operating budget protected by a
Well-
default number.
By a default number, but nothing, you know, so if we were to put something big into our operating budget,
Right.
we're back at this
it-
budget,
it-
not the new one.
Right, it inflates it up, but but over time,
Yes,
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
in terms of
over
getting
time.
more dollars in the operating budget and fewer dollars in the,
and then people have less of it.
But
so-
then you lose the ability, so that once it's in the operating budget, you lose the targetedness of it, right?
right.
Yeah.
Right, no, it's true,
And
it's
the
true.
default budget is tied to the previous year's budget.
Right.
So it disincentivizes select boards from reducing their operating budget year over year, because if you have, you know, a 1 year where, you know, let's reduce our budget by $1 million this 1 year because we're on top of everything and our costs can go down. Then next year, you need to go back up. Now your default budget is stuck at that $1 million
Yeah.
lower number, so you're never gonna take that risk. You're gonna, I mean, which is good governance anyway, to try. to
Right,
keep
but
your
it
budget
is,
Level.
but-
Right, yeah.
Right, but there certainly have been times when we've saw something in the school district happening and we've said, we'll defer that for a year, let you get that, you know, because we don't want 25% increase in taxes. And so that's tougher, that does makes it less likely you would do those things. You would just, as you say, keep the budget chunking along. Okay.
What were you were saying, your problem was like, could you do away with the deliberative session and just have a straight up?
Yeah, well, I mean,
The
I would.
budget committees do their thing. the
Right,
finance committee, you know.
let people do the PR work, the public, have all the discussion you want at meetings like this.
And then it just.
And
goes to a
then
straight
it
vote.
just goes to a vote. And if it passes, it passes, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't think that's better than traditional town meeting, but I think it's better than the current SB2 bill.
Okay.
I think it would be an easier conversation if we had 1,500 people sitting at town meeting every year.
Yeah,
that would be
absolutely,
good.
right?
And
Yeah,
I mean,
Have
I
that
think,
conversation.
I think it was Steve Taylor who wrote an article in the Valley News a couple of years ago about SB2, maybe longer than that, but essentially, and Paul Franklin mentioned it at hearing 1 or 2, that SB2 is more popular with larger towns where it's harder to govern, you know,
We gave the
we,
number 6,000 or more.
right, you know, we are still, you know, we are a town of 3,000 people roughly, depending on how you count, you know, Kim Williams.
Maria,
Okay, this is not about SB two. So Mr. Weber.
I'm sorry?
this discussion is about SB
This
two.
is the SB
Oh,
two hearing.
okay, well, it's about
It's-
the
it's-
selectmen.
No,
No,
SB two related. Any other SB two related comments or questions? Okay, well, that ends our third and last hearing on that topic.
Thank you very much for all of your input.
it's been, I mean. On governance, it's interesting.
All right, so now we have. You guys can start here and go around if you want. There's this is the signing of the warrant that'll be posted tomorrow. You know, this is the official warrant, the one Dan Cassidy will use.
You get to sign first.
Oh, right.
I don't have a pen, but he's the chair,
So
so,
he'll give you a pen.
I'll borrow Brad's again.
yes, thank you.
And so each of
Will
those,
sit here and watch us do this, or do you want to move into discussing the
yeah, we can.
building inspector?
Well, I think it's really just an update for the board and a little bit of a discussion. Our current building inspector has sold his home in Plainfield and is moving to somewhere south and warm. And so April 30th will be his last day. Brad is our facility person and somebody who has done building before, has for many years now, been handling the building inspection during the winter while Dave is away. Dave dispatches him, right, as I think the way Dave likes to describe it. We are not interested in having Brad be the full-time building inspector for the town. There's not enough slack in his work. I mean, right now he's overloaded with projects. And so we are in, it's a moment in time. Matt Decker as a municipal attorney may.
Are we legally required to have one?
Well, so one question is, do you want to have a building inspector? I think, and I may be wrong in this, I think Cornish doesn't, Cornish chooses not to. I think there's a lot of value to it, and I think we are getting a record set that will be very, very useful to people in the future. The way Dave has been handling building permits and getting them scanned in, and we can attach them to assessing records. It's really a very nice system. Be ashamed to lose that, but I've started to talk a little bit publicly in the week, every other week blog about the need for a building inspector, and we've got a couple of people who have expressed an interest. But the select board has never weighed in as to whether we want to modify the program, keep the program. The problem with small towns, and this is the problem, is if you talk to local contractors and you talk to folks who are in the know about these things, they'll say you ought to either do building inspection right, or you should not do it at all. And Plainfield, no small town in the state of New Hampshire does inspections right, because it would be prohibitively expensive and most of your residents would be pissed at you. Because the codes are complicated and the process to get a building permit becomes very different under the code. If we administer the code, every aspect of it. The way David has always done it, I thought has found a happy medium of, we want to be sure that the building is safe, that you're adhering to the things that need to be done. But if suddenly we required measured drawings for every project, if we, I have heard, and you don't know, Amy, you're in the library, but I have heard the building inspection process in Lebanon is weeks, if not months.
Yeah, I know a little bit about that.
And ours is hours. And so there is, my preference, I think, would be to keep the system we've had going, because I think it provides more help to people than it hurts.
I mean, is it okay to not be following this code, right?
Well,
By having it, are we in some danger of?
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
some real danger, right? I mean, and doing
Absolutely.
away with it altogether feels kind of crazy to me when I think about
Right.
the projects that go on at KUA, for example.
Right, in Kimball
Right.
Union, we
It
always,
also makes some money for us. I mean, I don't know that it
right,
pays
for
building inspector.
For Kimball Union, they typically hire a third-party inspector, because we're not qualified to
Right,
inspect their
that's what
building.
worries me, right? We've
And
got
so
kids.
they have a different process for Kimball Union. For us, I mean, the attitude of the building inspector makes a huge difference in how they enforce the code.
Yeah.
Not suggesting we don't know the code and review the code,
Uh-huh.
just suggesting that if you hired a building inspector that was going to inspect like they do in Hanover, like they do in Lebanon, that every piece of sheetrock is supposed to have a fastener.
I don't know
every
if we
11
could afford to hire a building
Right,
inspector that's going to do that, right? I mean,
And so it is, so understanding that we have never done it at the level of Lebanon or Hanover or Manchester. This is a moment in time when you could decide not to do it at all. And
Is this an MRI question?
well,
probably more a Barry Schuster question. It's probably more a little bit of research question.
yeah. it's
But
not
the
a decision
idea
I wanna
is-
Make tonight.
Right, no, and I'm not suggesting we make it tonight. I just want you to know that your current building inspector, who I think has done a wonderful job for 15 years or more, putting through the eye of the needle, hitting it about right. What you want in your local town building inspector is someone who can show up and see a homeowner that's about to make a really bad mistake.
Yes.
You can't connect that elevated deck to your house with the nails out of a coffee can. We need to stop you from that and help. And that's the level of building inspection that we have done.
Yeah.
If you read the code, they're gonna submit plans. They're gonna do a lot of review work, engineering work that we don't do. And so the question is, are you happy with the way we've been doing it, knowing there is some enhanced risk? Or do you want to back out of it altogether or do it for real? And we, so that's discussion we'll be having, but we should be looking, Brad can fill in a little while, but the summer will get busy. And your thoughts on building?
He's already
I
fallen
mean,
asleep in the
no.
chair. We make him do
But
it.
you have raised some of these issues, yeah?
I absolutely have, and I don't wanna undo everything you just said.
Right.
However,
Right.
However,
Okay.
that's a big however, okay.
I would take exception to saying we're miles off of what we've been, when I'm out on the building site, I am looking at the code.
And I think David is too,
I'm sure he is.
but you would agree that the material we get is not often.
Right, my
Sufficient.
biggest concern with the whole process is that you get 3/4 of the way through a project. Well, here's the real life situation. Dave's working with the project since spring. I take over in November, December. I go my first time on the job site and I'm looking at a shell fully constructed. And I'm saying, how'd you get to energy code? And how did you meet energy code? And I'm looking at the builder. Pleasant person, obviously knows how to bang a nail, and he's got that deer in the headlights eye. What do you mean? He has not a clue of what his target R values are. He's got an assembly built that is wonderful for 1980s construction.
Mhm.
I don't know how he made it that far on a project, and this is, $100,000, $200,000 projects. This is not little money, okay? In this day and age, it is so easy to build a straight line scale drawing. It is not an undue burden to ask that for every project except the very smallest ones. And I mean something less than $10,000. Like, we should be asking for not the vision of a roll of drawings that's 80 pages, 2 or 3 sheets, ideally a little bigger than 8.5 by 11, so you're not using a microscope to read it. But in this day and age, the paper's readily available, big rulers are readily available, but little CAD packages that you can print at work are also available, free stuff. And if somebody's building a $200,000, $300,000 project, to ask them to put a couple $1,000s at most, I don't know.
Right.
I'm sure I'm off on my money because the world's changed in the last 3 years. But the reality is, if they do that, then I can do my job as a building inspector and do plan review and catch the holes in the thinking before he's ever swung a hammer. He hasn't bought any new materials, he hasn't put any labor in. I hate getting to the job site and having to say, how are you gonna fix this? There is no fix. How does this guy get to build this way? And the guy up the street who did pay 10 grand for a set of drawings because he thought he should, he got a pass and his building's built right. It's supposed to be the same set of rules for everybody. It's supposed to be equitable. And so I feel like I was the one who just recently came to the point of saying, what if we said we don't do this? Is there a path where someone who gets into a project and values that security of knowing it is code compliant can get that help? Is there building inspection, private services available? There's things called home inspectors that are not quite the same thing, but maybe there's somebody out there who would do code review and give you that stamp. So you can go to, my concern is the guy who buys that house.
Yeah.
Right? He does not know, she does not know what they bought. They think because it got inspected by the town of Plainfield,
Mhm.
that it's everything it ought to be, because the code's been a state law and a local ordinance for 30 years or more. But the reality is, stuff goes through that should not go through. And we get into wedged positions where we go, God, do we make them tear it down? That's what we're supposed to do, is say, this cannot exist. You need to fix it. And it's not our job to tell you how. There's lots of ways, but I've spent lots of time with folks helping them figure out how. because I sympathize with them.
Yeah.
It should never have gotten that far. We should catch it in plan review, and the only way you do that is if you have plans.
And for us, the most common, the houses come pretty much architecturally designed in one fashion or another. They're either buying the Hannaford from LaValle's, it has a certain layout, or they're building a new home. It is the additions on existing homes that tend to come in pretty light, in terms of their, submittal of information. Garages, particularly homeowner-built garages, the LaValle garages, anybody that's using a LaValle Trust package, we can get a lot of detail from LaValle's, they can get a lot of details easily. So those aren't as bad. There was a period in time, and we could investigate this again, there was a period in time when Plainfield used an inspection service. It was a resident of town who had been the inspector for Hanover and started his own company. And that was good for us because they did all the work. The permit prices reflected the cost of having, when that happens, and it's just the nature of the beast, you will get the same complaints here at town office that everybody like a Lebanon, like a Manchester, a Hanover who does it gets, because they're difficult, right? The inspector says outlets are supposed to be 8 feet, no further than 8 feet apart. That one's 7 or that one's 12, move it, you gotta rewire that. And so David, I think, is, like I said, does a really good job of protecting people. And we may struggle finding somebody willing to do what David has done, which is, make sure the building is safe, but I'm not going to count nails in individual sheets of sheetrock
That
Okay,
just drives me nuts.
Okay.
Science has told them this is not somebody
right,
fixing this, the
But
process. by
do
which
you
they-
do you
No,
think David looks at fasteners on sheetrock?
I don't want to comment on what David does because I'm not there when he does it,
Right.
right? But good people- I can't see all fasteners, but I
But
do
you
look
see the
for
ones you
signs that
see.
they're doing it properly.
yeah.
But again, it's the concept that somehow the code is asking you to do something unreasonable. The code is a minimum passing grade. It's a
Yeah.
D-. And we can build so much better than that, and it doesn't cost more money, and it's better for the homeowner in the long run. So a little tough love on the front end, guiding them, and I have spent a lot of time working with folks that nobody's paying me.
Mhm.
I just do it because I can see they need a little point in the right direction. They're not unwilling, they just don't know what they don't know.
Mhm.
And so I feel like there are ways to do what we want to do. But I don't think you go there by dissing the code and making it sound like it's some insurmountable, unreasonable task. It is relatively straightforward to meet codes, all of them. Most of the guys,
and they're
do
there
most of
for-
the gals,
See
do
this
most of the stuff
as a future
properly.
agenda item,
Yeah.
where we really can get into it, because I think that there's a lot here, and I think it does need to be equitable. I think if we are gonna have someone do it, they need to do it right, and then we have to understand the cost of that.
And that's,
Because it's not cheap. We can say, oh, well, Brad's gonna fill in, but Brad's got a lot of other stuff to do.
Right, no, I think it can't
It's
go on
not
later.
Brad's job.
By the time we start the real building season, we have to figure it out.
And it needs to actually, in my opinion, probably be on the cost, the homeowner, the home builder, to
Absolutely.
absorb that cost, right? Like, I don't need.
Right, I mean, we can look into whether there's outside companies.
But what would that look like?
Right.
So I'd love to really look at this. I think it's a perfect opportunity to look at it, and I think Dave's done a great job, and the other people who have filled in for him, some of whom I know personally, very well, have done their best, right?
Right.
But they've done their best,
Well, I think at the very
So,
least,
I
on
think
the
it's
front
good
end,
discussion to have.
we're gonna have to start requesting better information.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
We just can't do an addition onto the house with a rectangle, on a piece of paper.
but we can also do helpful things on the website, like give them an example of the 5 things we care about. That there's a lot of stuff that we could do to get that first step improved significantly. And if you do that first step, everything else gets easier, but to your cost,
Yeah,
just understand, we don't. Right now, if somebody builds normal construction, there are 10 possible construction visits.
yeah.
Sometimes we're able to join them together. far more often, I'm getting a plea from a contractor saying, we'd like to get some heat in the building, so we wanna do the insulation on the perimeter walls. So electrical rough-in's done there, we haven't done the rest of the electrical.
Right.
And they asked me to split it into a couple of visits, and I usually say, fine. But the
Fine.
reality is, that drives the cost up. It's hard to do an inspection. You're on site for 10 minutes, but you're driving 15 minutes each
Absolutely.
way.
Yeah.
So
And that's you
Do that
doing it,
10
and for
times.
a hired inspector, they're gonna really charge us.
Exactly.
We'll find out what it really costs.
So again,
Yes.
there's room for improvement.
Yeah.
That isn't gonna sink you, but it is a different system than what we've been doing.
So.
So this is an easy one for me to. support.
Right, yeah, you're, that on a future agenda.
After town meeting, because I know you like a decision on it, Steve, or.
Well, we know as of April 30th, we know what we have. We don't have a building inspector as of April
Can
30th.
you get kind of a quick and dirty opinion from Barry in terms of?
Yeah, do you know what I mean, when we adopt the code, you mentioned not having a building inspector, so you must think it's possible.
I think other towns get away with it, so if we choose to go that route, we could probably get away with it. I don't,
Well, okay.
I think-
There's one to sign off.
exactly, that's, no, I think that's,
Really like us
that's
to wait
the
till
only
he's
thing
off
I have to
before
go
we
on.
do that.
I do not, I
We'll add it
wanted
to
to talk to Barry about a possible waiver process.
Uh-huh.
My concern is people don't know, and if everybody knows, then maybe that's a little better than people not knowing. And sort of thinking they'll get one thing and not getting another. I think the minute people start saying, oh, you mean I might not be able to refinance
Uh-huh.
if I don't get an inspection, that changes the value proposition, right? And I think that's probably the tough answer that we've got, is that there is a cost that is not being accounted for right now, and a process that is not followed. So we're not getting the benefit of that, even the cost we're charging. So I just.
And even at the level that we have done building inspections, we still periodically every year get people that are really mad about the things David has required them to do, even though,
Yeah.
when he's, zones in on an issue that he thinks is life safety, says you have to do this. And it is like we are pulling their teeth, how mad they are about it, but it is
But
what.
isn't most of that at the time they've already built it and they're being asked to change.
Yeah, I think the thing that we commonly, and David tries to communicate with them are, the life safety code requirements for egress windows or living space in basements, right? You
Right.
can't have a basement and with a little window about that big, you have to make a door in your basement essentially. And so those things are all, and I think part of the answer, and David has promoted this as well, although at times we have varied. And part of the answer is requiring better documentation during the permitting process, because it at least forces the homeowner to better understand what they're getting into. And what it is true. I mean, one of the things you should do, and I can get you the link, is you can go online and look at David's building inspections. And we would share that with a future building inspector, because David, it's not that he's not in every building, but he's not in a building 10 times, he's in a building 3 times, 4 times. And I think that works, but it has worked, but we are just at a point where we can make a different decision if we choose to.
Chris, you had your hand, did you, before we move on, did you?
Yeah, I've kind of got a whole bunch of stuff based on that from a whole bunch of different directions.
And we will have this on a future agenda,
Oh.
okay, just.
At the end of the day, I think the need for having a building inspector is important.
Yeah.
So we'll start with that. The town of Plainfield already has a local control on septic design, which has an engineer that does it. And the town says we need to look at it before it goes off to the state. So if we're gonna have that, then we might as well have something that says you can make a wall a certain way. I think having better plans up front is probably the easiest answer to that. As Brad said, I don't know if we need 10 visits to a building site, maybe we do. If somebody, I've always, in my history of being around building and working in the trades in Lebanon years ago, was if you didn't annoy the building inspector the first time and you were doing things right, they were usually a little nicer to you. However, the day they threw drywall over an electrical install without calling Calvin to come look at it, he made them rip all the drywall off the building. And that was a lot. And then lastly, as a former firefighter, having been in houses that are 1800s built and 2010 built, there are definitely better ways of constructing things now that make it so you won't die in a fire. And as a firefighter, we don't have to worry about the damn thing falling down on us. So that's kind of my roundabout on that. I'm sure there's, and Steve might be able to answer that. Dave's position is not a full-time position. Is it a stipend position?
No, it's an hourly position. He makes about $15,000 a year.
Okay.
That's what we spend on building inspections.
Yeah, so there's somebody that's gonna say, well, cut it out and save the town $15,000. All the things I just said and that Brad said are important, you know? Do I care so much if there's 6 outlets in a room or 4 outlets? Not really. Do I care that the wiring's not electrical cords connected in the walls? Which, yes, I've seen that. Yeah, I'd like to know that.
Right.
I've had experience with Dave and he was super. As you know, my construction is still on process, and then on the porch or the balcony, which was additions that I had done, I never even thought to put smoke alarms. And that's not part of the code. You don't have to put a smoke alarm there. But he says, you know, if that was my building, I'd like to have that. I said, that's a great suggestion. So I know like with it already, there's so much involved with construction. I submitted plans and everything else and dealt with different people. And David was really good guiding me along. Yeah.
And Maria, on that tonight, we agree. Dave Lurch has done a wonderful job for us and in a difficult environment because he's not getting the plans that you might submit to a city. And he is trying to make sure people have safe homes and he's done a good job for Plainfield in that process. Just, we're at a moment where we can think about where we might like to go with it beyond, and a future agenda item is a good idea.
It will be.
Yes, great idea from your perspective.
Ron's gonna come and sit in the audience.
Steve, any other business before we?
No, I'll have the books for town meeting, you know, the
Next
individual
meeting.
warrant articles and, that kind of stuff at the next meeting. No, I mean, just, we could talk a lot about what's going on in our office, but you guys are, it's just the normal stuff that goes on in town office in March, so we're good for now.
I would assume town reports are coming now that the
Yeah.
warrant's been.
Yeah, the town report is at the printer, it's due back next Wednesday, should be in the mail by Thursday afternoon.
Before we adjourn, we're going to be talking about having a vote now to go into non-public session for the purpose of discussing the personnel issue. And if we choose to do that, as soon as I'm telling you now, as soon as we get out, we will adjourn without conducting any other business. So this is essentially the end. All right.
All right, I will make a motion that we go into non-public session to discuss a personnel matter.
Have I met you before?
You have to do it by name, please.
Oh, can you see Angelo signs that motion?
No, for the vote, of also to vote in.
It's a pretty nice. Maybe.
Aye.
All right, and Ron Everhart also agrees there. We're now moving into non-public session.
But you know.
I have to get married for that, then.
And then Cornish, because